Today I'm going to show you how to replace an AC compressor, belt and belt tensioner on this BMW 328i. This process is going to be similar to all BMWs with N20 and N26 engines, since they share pretty similar technologies. One thing that you have to keep in mind, then you have to drain the AC system first before starting this job, because the AC is loaded with Freon, and if you don't, that can hurt yourself or you can make a mess. You can check the right corner of this video right now, where I have details how to do that step by step on how to do recovery and refill an AC system on a BMW. Make sure to get the proper specifications on what is the charge of AC system then you're gonna apply to your BMW. You can find that easily on the top area of your hood or any area of the engine bay. That's where you are going to find the specifications of your AC system. For this process, essentials. We have to remove all this to get access to the AC compressor, then it's gonna be located right below the alternator. But once we remove everything, you're gonna see it. From the top view, that's the way it looks. This is the AC compressor. So what we have to do is remove this. In this case, we have a aftermarket intake manifold, cold air intake. So what we have to do is to remove the plug for the sensor, the air mass flow sensor. We have to remove this line, vacuum line, and we have to remove the clamps that hold this box on place. And once we have that, we have to remove these little brackets, rubber brackets right here, and then we pull this one out, and we have a better view of the engine. Once we got that out of the way, what we have to do now is remove this other piping, because in this case we have an aftermarket, so this pipe is going to be completely separate than the other one. But now we're gonna have completely view of the AC compressor. Then it's going to be this one right here, the tensioner, and the belt then is about to break. Here I have the parts that I'm going to need to do this job. Here is the belt. This is the part number of the belt in case you wonder. So we have the AC compressor right here. Then it looks like this. Before installing the AC compressor, what you have to do is to push this one a little out, so it's easy to insert it where it goes. This is just bushing, then tightens the AC compressor on place, but you have to push it just a little, so that way you can easily introduce it once you are ready to install the new one. We have the tensioner right here, and it's going to look like this. Kind of weird looking tensioner. This is the way it looks. So let's start with the job. Now what we need is a 5/8 or 16mm socket to release the tension of the belt. We are going to install this one on the tensioner right here. This is where we are going to release the tension of this tensioner, and we are going to do the movement to the right like this. It's a little hard. This tension has a lot of pressure, so it's going to be a little challenging. The smaller the ratchet, the harder it's going to be. So once we got the belt out of the way, we just release the tension, and that's it. One thing very important: if you are going to replace the AC compressor, but you are not going to replace the AC belt, the tensioner, you have to install the clip, then goes over here, the pin then goes, because the tensioner stays right on top of this bolt right here. There is a bolt that goes right here. So if you release the tensioner completely, it's going to be on top. So you have to remove the tensioner to get access to that bolt. But if you have the pin that goes on the tensioner, I'll show you right now, and it's this one, this pin. You gotta apply it so the tensioner stays in this position, and you get full access to the AC compressor, and you don't have to remove the tensioner. But in this case, we are going to remove the tensioner, so we don't care. We are going to remove it anyway. We get the belt out of the way, and we can see the belt was about to get destroyed. It's all broken now. If your belt looks like this, be sure to replace it. This is trash. Now we are going to remove the tensioner. We're going to be using a E10 socket. Look just like this one. It's an E10 socket, and we're gonna use extension, so we can place it right here and we can release it. Just be careful because these bolts are very small and you can drop them. See, we have the old tensioner. It doesn't look bad, but it's good to replace it anyway. And the AC compressor is going to be this one. We have one bolt right here and we have another bolt right here. There is two bolts holding the AC compressor, and we have the plug over here, electric plug. We just pull it, but we have to move this clip over here. There is a clip and we have to push so we can release the little tab, then holds the plug on place. And we're gonna remove these two bolts with a T30 socket, so that way we can remove the hoses completely and we are able to remove the AC compressor. Keep in mind that in this case I already removed the Freon, the AC gas, completely from the system. So that is something that you have to keep in mind. That's something that I mentioned at the beginning of the video, so you don't get problems at the time of removing the AC compressor. If you remove the AC compressor like this is going to push, because there is pressure, it's going to push the hoses out immediately, and then it's going to have a big leak, a lot of AC gas all over. So now, see, all I have to do is to grab my hand right here to get this hose out, and it's out. And the other one, the same way, get it out. Right. Okay, we have it out. So the final step to remove the AC compressor will be to remove the E12 bolts. These are E12 bolts. There is one and there is another over here, then it's really hard to see it. So we have to remove those, and then we are going to be able to remove the AC compressor completely. Now we can proceed to remove this AC compressor. The thing with this AC compressor is then it's going to be like a little stuck in there because of the rear bushings that are going to be holding it in place, so it's going to be hard to remove it. In this case, see, it doesn't move at all. The easiest way will be to grab the same socket, put it over here, and grab a hammer and hammer it so it can get loose. See, immediately got loose as soon as I start hitting it. So that will be the easiest way. So you have to hit both of the bushings so that way you release the pressure that they are getting in contact. But if you don't have room for this, you have to use a screwdriver for sure. Now I have both of the bushings, the rear bushings completely removed, completely pushed out in this case. So see, now it's easy. So get it out of the way and bring it out completely. And yes sir, we have the AC compressor completely removed from this BMW N26 engine. Now it's time to replace the new one. But before replacing the new one, it's very important that you guys compare it. In this case, we have an aftermarket AC compressor, and this one is going to be cheaper, mostly. That's pretty much it. But on the shape of it, it gotta be exactly the same. See, we got the plug, the bigger plug, the smaller plug, the electric plug right here. It looks exactly the same. The bracket for the hoses, for the cables, this bracket for any accessory that could be mounted to it. The two mounted brackets, and pretty much exactly the same. So once we have this inspected, we are ready to install the AC compressor. And as I said before, you have to push these bushings a little to the rear area of the AC compressor, so it's gonna be easier for installation. The same thing happened to this one. See, we have to push these bushings out so that way we can release, because we have the center bracket over here that is holding the AC compressor. If you don't do it, it's going to be a little harder to remove it, because these bushings are going to still making pressure on the bracket that is holding the AC compressor on the engine side. So let's start with the preparation for the installation of this AC compressor. For that, the first thing we gotta do is to remove these bolts. And the reason why is because we're gonna remove these rubber seals first, because if we install it like that, it's going to be a little harder to remove them inside the vehicle. So this is going to have a little pressure, so be careful with it. All right, pressure is released. You have to do it slowly, otherwise it can go all to your face. See, and we have it removed completely. We can see the same orifice on both of them, so ready for installation. Let's install this bad boy right now. The same way we remove it, the same way we install it, all the way down and insert it. And we are going to insert the bolt. It's easy to install it, as I say, because the bushings on the rear area are completely out, and that makes the process way easier. And now, see, we have it on place, and we have to install the other bolt, the bottom one. And we have the AC compressor back on place. Before we tighten, because we have play on the AC compressor, will be convenient to install the hoses, because we can move it around. This, okay. And we install this hose, see, back on place right there. And we prevent any debris to go inside the AC system as well. Meanwhile, we're installing the rest of the component. And we have put both of the hoses on place, so ready. Now we are going to tie those bolts. To tie those bolts, you can use the specifications, BMW specifications, but for the size of those bolts, you're gonna apply around like 35 maximum pounds of torque to those bolts. So just be sure to do that. But if you don't trust me, you can use the specifications of BMW to do the proper torque settings, or the right type of pressure to the bolt. Anyway, we are going to tie that up. We are going to use a small ratchet freeze, because we can use the impact gun, but it's not proper to do it. So with a small ratchet will be the convenience, so that way we can get the bolt all the way in without damaging anything. After torquing, after the bolts, okay, let me see, after tightening the bolts to the right specifications, you have to make sure to connect the AC hoses. Are going to be the ones we remove to remove the AC compressor, this one and this one. They were already connected. We did it before, is tightening the bolts of the AC compressor, but we tie the bolts right now. So these bolts are going to be tied around like 15 pounds of torque. It will vary depending, but as I say, if you want the specific details, you can use the specification book for these specific bolts. Then after that, we connect the cable, the plug, pretty easy. We just slide it in and make sure that the clip clips on it once you push it. And then the AC compressor replacement is completely done. Now, continuing with the belt tensioner. So the belt tensioner is pretty easy. 3 bolts, the way we remove it, the same way we want to install it. We are going to insert it where it goes, right here, and see by hand it's going to be super hard to reach where the tensioner goes. So what we are going to do is to grab the socket with an extension. Then I have somewhere let me see, and right here, this is the tension. So all you have to do is to get the tensioner all the way down where it goes, and we are going to install this one very carefully because it's pretty easy to drop it, and we're gonna start the thread. These bolts are you are going to apply around like 25 pounds of torque to each bolt, but you know, as I mentioned many times already, you can use the specification book for the specific torque settings on this specific item. So we're gonna apply around 25 foot-pounds of torque, and basically we'll be ready to continue installing the belt. Tensioner is completely tight, so that means then we are ready to install the new belt, which is this one right here, and we are going to insert it. And the route of this belt is pretty easy. It doesn't have a very unusual route because it's a very small belt. So all you have to do is to get it on the alternator, AC compressor right here, and the crankshaft pulley. See, it was all outside. It's pretty easy, and we have to release the tension of the tensioner so we can release this pin so the tensioner can apply all the pressure to the belt. Pin out, and belt is applying pressure to the tensioner is applying pressure to the belt, and that's it. Ready. Pretty easy. Just double check then the groups of the belt are right on the groups of the pulley, and that's all. Make sure that everything is in the right position, and we are ready. This pin, save it, because this pin is going to be useful in case you are going to service the belt. You can insert it back where it goes. That way we can reservice the belt in case we can release the tension of the tensioner with this one, so we can reservice the belt or any other component. Now the last thing to do after putting everything back together, more important than anything, double check that everything is in the right position. And if everything is in the right position, we are going to install the air filter, the way we remove it, and the other components then go on top, so that way we can recharge the AC system. So finally we have everything together, everything ready, and basically the replacement of the AC compressor is completely done. But there is one more thing to do, then is recharge the AC system. And as I mentioned, you have to go to my YouTube page and look for the video on how to do this AC service. How to remove it, how to extract it, how to do vacuum, and how to recharge the system. I have all the details there. So we're gonna do that in the meantime, and when I get back to you. The AC charge is completely done on the AC system of this BMW A320i. So basically the job is done of replacing the AC compressor and the other components that we did. So the last thing you have to do once you have all that is to make sure that the AC system is working, the AC compressor is working. So you have to go there and you have to focus on the AC clutch. Then it has to be rotating at the same speed of the pulley. If that is the case, if the AC compressor is working at the same speed of the pulley, that means then we have a functional AC system. So To complete the job, we have to make sure that the AC is actually blowing cold air. And for that, you can use your hand and make sure that the air feels cold, which it is, or you can use a thermometer to get the right temperature. But this is pretty much all we have on our channel, IE errors, and we're gonna continue doing videos like this for all of you that wonder how to do repairs yourself on these machines that are very expensive to maintain. If you have any questions about this type of job that I just did on this BMW 328i or any other BMW that has the same N20 or N26 engine, you can use the comment section below. If you wanna reach me directly, go to Instagram and look for me, Francisco Maya YouTube, and there you can ask me anything about these machines. Just be sure to have the information necessary to give me the right questions, so that way I can get you the proper answer the fastest. And also, if you're gonna send support to the channel, check the description of the video. I have details how to send support to the channel, so we can create content like this on our channel, IE errors, so we can help you more on these machines. So, as always, thank you for watching and stay tuned for newest videos coming soon on our channel, and thank you for watching.